divine Christ bless you all. I'm Chef Shauna, and I'd like you to join me in my kitchen as I make a celebration cake for my daughter. She's graduating from high school this year, and I am so proud. I thought I would share a few tips to help you bake your very special cake as well. My baby asked for a red velvet cake. Here you can see all of my ingredients, and you can take a glance in my cooking notebook. Well, actually, it's my Lord's cookbook. I'll take a snapshot so that you can get a closer look. Also, I love using the creaming method when making my cakes. So in this case, we don't have any butter, so I have creamed the sugar, the oil, and the eggs together. Then I created a dry mix that included my cocoa powder and flour, and I believe the salt. Then I have my liquid mix, which is the vinegar and the buttermilk. And I am just alternating, adding the dry and the liquid mix into my mixture. As usual, make sure to scrape down the sides so that everything can incorporate well. Doing something like this is definitely a budget saver. Guys, you don't have to be a professional to make a delicious moist cake. After all, making it homemade will ensure that you know exactly what's going inside. It will be without preservatives, and I'm sure it will have better quality ingredients than a cake you could buy at the store. So, this is another way you can be obedient to your Lord to keep that budget down. We'll begin by preparing our cake pans. I happen to have a ton of springform pans, so I'll be using those, but any cake pan in the size that you would like will do. I am using parchment paper, not to be mistaken with wax paper. Wax paper should not be used for heat or for cooking purposes. So you take your parchment paper and fold it into a rectangle and fold that down into a square. Then make a little cone shape, creating a point in the center, and hold that point to the middle of the pan. Cut off the excess, and then you have a perfect round that will fit in your cake pan. You can also take the step to butter and dust your pans very lightly with flour, but I don't like how it sometimes leaves that white crusty coating. So in this case, I'm just going to give the edges of the pan a little bit of butter to help it to release. They even make sprays that are specific for baking cakes. This batter seems very runny, but again, it is a red velvet cake, and it has the oil and the buttermilk, which is one of those things that ensures it's very moist. Now, after making the cake and tasting the final product, it was really delicious. It was very moist, but if I would offer any areas for improvement, I would say it needed just a little bit more vinegar. So if you make this at home and you want that classic tangy red velvet cake taste, I would increase the vinegar to maybe another tablespoon. Now I'm going to bake these cakes. I've already split the layers so that I don't have to cut them in half. There's a pro tip for you. If you don't have the proper knife to slice it without tearing up your cake, you can just bake in 2 or 3 pans so that you'll have the layers you need. Now, I have a really big family, and I wanted them to be able to enjoy themselves. So I made another batch to make some cupcakes. I happen to have run out of the red food coloring, but I had a little green and a little blue. As you see, you can use nifty tools like an ice cream scoop to make sure that every scoop is about the same size. This will ensure even baking. We don't want some that are shallow and some that are very tall, because then they will not bake at the same time. And of course, cupcake liners make for easy cleanup. Moving right along. Now I will bake these after my cakes come out of the oven, which both took about 18 to 20 minutes. Just poke the centers of the cake with a toothpick to check for doneness. Now I overfilled just a bit too much, so I'm using an offset spatula to pluck up those cupcakes. I didn't want to break off the tops. The cakes are ready. After they became room temperature, I popped them in the freezer so that they were easier to work with. This is a very moist cake and it will break on you if you don't handle it carefully.
Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today.
I also have a cake turntable, and I believe I got it from either Michael's or Walmart. And it is great for making cakes, but it's not necessary. You can turn a bowl upside down and put a piece of rubber cabinet lining on it so that your cake board does not move while you are spreading. And you can use that to turn as you go. I am doing what we call a cake crumb coat. This coat is intended to have a few crumbs in it, and we'll firm it up in the freezer so that they won't stick onto the spatula later for our final topping. Now these cakes were so moist, I didn't even need to simple syrup them. Can you see all the moisture on the top? And I can see that it's a little uneven on one side, so I'll just press to shift the frosting to where I need it to go. You can gently press and turn and press and turn to allow that frosting to kind of squish to the areas that it needs to go. Just press and turn, very gently press and turn. So I'm continuing on with my crumb cake. Actually, it's called dummy frosting. A crumb cake, I don't remember. But either way, I put a big mound in the center and I am going to spread that out. Now, initially, it's going to look like I have far too much frosting. But don't worry, we will scrape the excess off. The frosting is smooth and will spread. While if you get contact with the cake, especially if it isn't cold, it will pull off of the spatula and begin to break apart. So it's better to use excess frosting during this stage to ensure that you're not tearing up your cake. Now you see that I got a separate container so that I don't get any of those cake crumbs into the remainder of my frosting. After all, I want my final coating to be beautiful and without cake crumbs. Just be patient with yourself. Take your time. You can take some of that extra frosting and press it into any cracks if it's uneven. And this is also the perfect opportunity to level the cake if it's a bit uneven on top. Just add more frosting and level it out with the spatula. This is the key to decorating a cake that is even and that does not have crumbs throughout the final frosting. Now, I'm sure many of you may have this gadget that I'm showing here. They make them just for cakes, or they have bench scrapers, which I believe this is what that is, but I am using it for my cake. can use that edge to scrape off the excess, but you don't want to scrape too firmly because we're really just getting the extra. We want to leave that cake crumb coating in place so that once the cake is chilled and we're ready to frost it with the final coating, crumbs do not pull up. See, there we go. I'll chill this in the freezer for at least 30 minutes. Now, while we're waiting, let's get all of our pastry bags set up. I think I want to do some pretty flowers. I also want to be able to write my daughter's name on the cake. These little gadgets that I'm using are called couplers, and they are awesome. They allow you to change out your tips without having to take everything out of the bag to remove the first tip. So you could just screw that on, securing the tip of choice, and when you want to change it, you take it off and swap it out. Easy peasy. So I'm going to get my bags prepared. I'll have one bag with the star tip. That will be my decorating bag. And then I have one bag with the interchangeable tip that has the coupler so that I can write and decorate and do any final touches that are needed with that tip. Now, hang the excess of the bag over your hand and scoop it in. That way you can minimize the mess. Now I'm just mixing my colors and getting everything ready to go. I will also tidy up my station before beginning once more. Okay, all my frosting and bags are prepped and ready. Now I have some hot water. This is a great tip in helping to ensure smooth edges while scraping. I have a handy cake decorating tool. It has all types of shapes for the sides. The one I choose, I will dip in the hot water. Now, my cake spatula is cleaned and dried and ready to go. And we will begin by mounding a nice bit of frosting on top. Don't be alarmed, the excess will be scraped off and we'll use the remainder of the frosting for our cupcakes. So starting at the center and turn. I'm kind of doing a press and turn motion here so that I can also level out the frosting as I am spreading. Don't worry about the overhang. All of that will be removed later. I am just cleaning the excess off my board so that it will be nice and clean. So that's another good tip, that as you go, you just clean your board up a bit. So just like before, a nice scoop, a little squiggle, and continue. Scoop, swish and spread. Scoop, switch, and spread. You want a nice layer so that when I use my special cake tool, it will scrape in a design without removing so much frosting that we go down to the cake. Now I have that handy cake spatula that I am dipping in the hot water and wiping off the excess moisture because water will make the cake frosting crack. So we don't want to leave excess water. I am just pressing in the design and scraping off the excess. Once we have our cake scraped and clean, I'll do the same thing to the top, but I believe I'm going to use the smooth edge instead. Then, before I do anything else, I will put the cake back in the freezer or even the refrigerator for at least 30 to 40 minutes so that this layer of frosting can firm back up. The fridge is your friend. After all, the frosting is butter and powdered sugar. It's very soft and fluffy and melty, so keeping it chilled will give you a bit more flexibility with your decorating. If you make a mistake, it'll be far easier to scrape it up without messing up the work you just did before. So I love to do the step of using the refrigerator to firm up that coating. After all, that will give you just enough time to tidy up and get prepped for the next phase of decorating. Now, I had to test out the cupcakes to see if they were good. Pretty moist. So we'll move along with prepping our bags. My daughter's school colors are orange and blue, so I'm kind of lingering in theme. Now, I'm going to test out my handwriting. After all, it's been a while since I wrote on a cake. So here's my tip for you. Test it out on a clean counter before writing on your cake that you worked so hard to create that smooth, perfect surface. Not so bad. You can always scrape it up and keep going until you are happy with the design. You don't have to be a professional to make a beautiful cake. You can do a few simple techniques to make that cake look beautiful, but also following good technique principles like using the creaming method will ensure you have a fluffy, moist cake. So, next time you have a special event, consider making your cake. It will be homemade, made with quality ingredients that you know and you can actually read. And, of course, it will be made with love and extra care. Now, for me, I found it easier to write from a lower point. I like to hold the tip steady and just be continuous, because you don't want the frosting to drag and break. And always kind of do a quick snapping motion when you end, because the frosting drags. I think I could have centered it a little bit better, but that's okay. I'll fix it with my decorating. Writing on cakes, after all, is not my strongest suit, but I did it. Now you can decorate your cake however you choose. A simple star only requires for you to press down and lift up, but I'm going to do some rosettes. It's just a gentle swirl. And as you feel the pressure of the frosting coming out of the bag, you're to lift and twirl at the same time. Now, I just put a little spacing between it. Now, if you were doing a cookies and cream cake, you could add some chocolate drizzle dripping down the edges. You could stick an Oreo cookie into each dollop and add sprinkles. I chose to use edible flowers that came from my garden, and yes, they have been thoroughly cleaned and dried. I have violas, nasturtiums, and bachelor's button flowers. All done. Now on to the cupcakes.
I'm gonna need you to coach me in this mug, all right?
Yeah, man.
What if I told you was beautiful? From the curls in your head, the thickness of your nose. What if I told you was beautiful? And every time you get in mine, it's like a fashion show. What if I told you was beautiful?
Need to make multiple budget-conscious meals at once? Let me show you how. It's really not too tough. Today I'm working with what's in my pantry, and I happen to have quinoa and black-eyed peas. So I've started those, and I'm seasoning them neutrally so I can manipulate them how I see fit. I happen to have a pack of chicken tenders, so I'm going to brown those up. I'm going to make a little pan gravy so that they can stay moist during reheat. And remember to cool your food before storing it. So now, here's my plan. A couple of plates are going to have the quinoa and beans as is with a little sauteed zucchini and the chicken diced with the gravy. And then a couple of plates are going to have some stuffed peppers and zucchini. Dice some peppers, onion, added cheese. I used a little bit of my quinoa, a different type of bean, and seasoned up the filling quite nicely. Oh, I put chicken in there too. I used that same filling to stuff the hollowed zucchini and peppers. Flash baked it for about 10 minutes, and boom, I have multiple meals ready to chill and refrigerate for a crazy day. Search your pantry and see what ingredients you can cross-utilize and transform. Doing a large rosette here, you just want to use a large cake tip and lift as you push. Now once again, when I finish with the cakes, I will let the frosting set up as I'm tidying and cleaning between tasks. That way, if I make an error with my next set of decorations, I can easily remove it. I'm going to box it because I do not have a cake dish that's tall enough to handle my candles. I was pressed for time, so I decided to go ahead and put them in. Now, this is just a standard cake box that I got from Walmart, and you want to always give yourself some overage. So I got this is a 10-inch box, and it might be about 5 inches tall. I have learned from experience in the past to secure the cake. So that's why I'm taping the edges so that it doesn't move and transport. After all, I have my little helpers helping me out, and I didn't want one of the kiddos to drop the cake. So moving on to my cupcakes. Again, I have that great coupler, so I can change my tip to the rose tip, and I'm going to make a tulip. They don't quite look like tulips from the front, but when you see the back side of them with the leaf, you can see that it's a tulip. They're very easy to make. I'm just starting at the center and going right, left, and I'm ending in the middle again. Remember, you can always practice on your counter. Now I press my leaf in just a touch before squeezing the frosting, and I give it a little yank at the top so that we can get the tips of the leaf. Added some pizzazz with some fun sprinkles, and we're about done. Cupcakes will be ready, and I can pack everything away so after the graduation we can come back and celebrate. And if you plan to transport them, I recommend you get a rectangular cake box, like a sheet cake box that has some height so that you don't smash your beautiful cupcakes. But look at that. Simple and all done. And if you don't feel comfortable with the flour, just do some sprinkles on the top or a little chocolate drizzle. Or you could do some cake crumbs if you had any left over. Anything fun, even a fresh strawberry. Although I do recommend dipping them in hot apricot jam. A great tip to get that shine on your fruit is to get some hot apricot jam, heat it in the pot or in the microwave, strain out the seeds, and then you can dip the berries in it before placing on top. But you have to move fast because you don't want it to be gooey and thick. You just want it to give it a nice thin sheen. and that will help to keep the fruit in place. Now, I'm using my hot water trick again for a beautiful cut. Hot water and a sharp blade will give you a nice cut that doesn't smash all the hard work you just did. So that's what you see me doing here. Don't be afraid of that chef's knife. Just take your time and watch your fingers. And remember, keep the little ones safe. Do not leave the knife unattended. Put it away immediately after cutting. Look at that, we did it! A beautiful slice of homemade red velvet cake. Give it a go and test out your cake decorating skills. You may surprise yourself and find that you can save your Lord just a bit more money by making it homemade. If I can do it, you can do it too. Anything can be done with practice and effort. After all, we are God's chosen, so we are capable of doing all types of greatness. You've got this.
Shalom Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. I want you to know that you can view all our Sabbath classes live on IUIC TV. That's right, I said on IUIC TV. Download the app today. Shalom.